Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
I know you think I'm crazy, but you must listen to me. You won't want to believe what I'm telling you here, but you have to.
This is episode 242, recorded May 21st, 2025.
Gruesome Magazine.
I do believe in Chad. I do believe in Chad. I do.
I have no idea what that voice was or anything.
Well, it kind of sounded like Peter Lorre for a while, then it shifted. And anyway,
I was trying to think good, the bad, and the ugly. Good, the bad, and the ugly, and it didn't come out right.
Chad, if you have to shoot. Don't talk.
Yeah.
I am your host, Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-hosts, Chad Hunt, Bill Mulligan, and Gregory Crosby, filling in for Doc Rotten, will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. With me this week is one of my co-hosts, Chad Hunt. How you doing, Chad?
I am very, very good, and I feel safe and secure in the fact that the nearest monkey is probably about 200 miles away from me, somewhere in South Carolina.
You never know when somebody's hoarding a monkey.
No. Well, a bunch of them escaped into South Carolina somewhere.
Well, you got to be careful because I hear like sometimes there's just like barrels full of
yeah.
And also,
they have hooks for hands.
That's right. Yeah.
Creepy.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
They usually have razors in their pockets. Yeah.
Don't do
also
this.
with us is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, published author, and all-around nice guy.
No monkeys with razors are in this book because there's some things I can't write about.
Yep.
You think all the monkeys are in South Carolina, but the fact is there are people who keep mountain lions as pets. And I met a guy in Sanford who had a Gila monster as a pet. So
nice.
People are crazy.
Yeah, but was it a giant Gila monster?
No, unless it was a baby giant Gila monster.
All right.
Anyway, also joining us is Gregory Crosby, another published writer, a poet and instructor. How you doing, Gregory?
I am very well. When I was a child, I would do a Gila monster impression. That was the talk of kindergarten.
What did you do? Bite on someone's foot and not let go until they cut off your head?
Yeah, I would do it for you, but it would have to happen off camera. So required I literally saw the giant Gila monster on TV.
Oh, so that's
I was like 5, and I went through a period where I was obsessed with Gila monsters, and I loved it because I knew that Gila monsters were not in fact giant because I was really into animals, and they had a whole National Geographic big book of the animals of North America. But I just thought, wow, yeah, the Gila monster. He looks like Gila monsters. They're very chill. They're very chill. They got good vibes, the Gila monster.
So you're smarter than I am. I saw the black scorpion. I was hiding from giant scorpions for decades.
Yeah, well, it was those close-ups with the saliva dripping off the fangs. That's what did it. That's nightmare.
And the human eyes. Yeah.
Nightmare fuel. I'm good, Jeff. I'm good. I'm great.
Well, good. That's good. And by the way, folks, Decades of Horror and Gruesome Magazine partner with Play Now Media. And they have a lot of different streaming channels. And in fact, Decades of Horror of the 1970s is available on their Wicked Horror TV channel. They have been nice enough to provide us with a promo code. So you will get 20% off your first payment if you subscribe to the site. Now, you do have to be a first-time subscriber, and you do have to subscribe on their website. So go on the internet, search Play Now Media, and then find the content that you want or the channel that you want. But the code is DOH70s, capital all caps DOH and 70. And don't put the S on there. I don't know why I did that time. But what you'll get is the monthly fee is $6.99 a month. So if you sign up for the monthly plan, you will get $1.40 off your first month. If you sign up for the annual plan, which is $50 a month, you will get $10 off, $50 a year. I'm still partially drugged from my, anyway.
You thought better of it.
I'm having flashbacks. So yeah, you get, it's $50 for an annual membership, and you'd get 20% off, which $10, and you would only pay $40 per year. It's good stuff.
Which will get you a cup of Starbucks.
Yep.
So here we go tonight, folks. Check out Play Now Media and a lot of their channels. They have a lot of different stuff. So I'm sure you'll find something there you would enjoy. For the uninitiated, our podcast is a spoiler podcast. So if you care about knowing about endings before you see the movie and you haven't seen this movie, you should go watch it first. That's all I can say.
Because the ending is the most memorable part of this movie, and
because there will be spoilers. Okay. All right. And on this podcast, what we do is we give a few details of the film, then we do first impressions, then talk about the marketing in terms of taglines and stuff like that there, posters, and take off down the road and whatever we want. So our movie this episode, A Cold Night's Death.
Dun, dun, dun.
It is a TV movie from 1973, directed by Jerrold Freedman, written by Christopher Knopf. Cast includes Robert Culp, Eli Wallach, Michael C. Gwynn, and that's it. I think there's a voice on a radio too, maybe. Yeah. Production companies are 20th Century Fox Television, ABC Circle Films, and it is a Spelling Goldberg production. It's filmed at 20th Century Fox Studios in LA and at the White Mountain Research Station in California, which is kind of southeast of San Jose. It was shown. Pardon me?
Do you know the way there?
I do.
San Jose?
I do.
Yeah.
The synopsis of this film: two research scientists at the Tower Mountain Research Station. See, I put the sign up so you would kind of know what it was. Tower Mountain Research Station are trying to unravel the mysterious death of a colleague. They suspect that there is someone or something other than their research primates inhabiting their isolated polar station. And once again, we're talking polar stuff, but no polar probes. And I added a couple more here just so people would get the idea of what this environment was like. This is the helicopter dropping them off, and they
into a snowdrift.
They step off the copter into like hip deep snow in the middle of a snowstorm.
Nope.
And just a similar shot of the same thing. Now you can see their well-equipped facility in the background that they have to trudge through the snow to get to from the helicopter. All right. Well, this is my pick. Yeehaw. So I will get first impressions first. And I saw this when it was on television on ABC back in 1973, and I liked it a lot. And I watched it once since then, where I found it on YouTube. And, you know, there are a lot of 70s horror movies that have been redone or put out on DVDs, but apparently this one hasn't, because I can't find one that's really a decent visual copy. Although we have watched worse, but not too much. And it kind of depends on the scene. If it's a night scene in the middle of the snowstorm, you just get blur, but the rest of it is kind of decent. I love the two actors. I mean, Robert Culp and Eli Wallach are the two scientists that are stranded in this place, and I love those guys. And it's sort of a playoff to me. It's kind of a story of isolation. A couple of things happen that are unexplained, and they start to suspect each other and accuse each other, and weird things keep happening. They also have, for some strange reason, it's a research scientist for all of these chimpanzees, and they're doing they're like testing their stamina under extreme conditions where they lower the temperature or start to starve them or physical exertion, I think. And
maybe it's never really explained. But,
no.
yeah, but
so that's what it seems like.
Yeah,
all we get is they show up. There's a frozen dead guy there, and nobody can understand why he's in a locked room with the window open. So it is quite the mystery. So I loved it. I loved the whole psychological aspect. I thought the way that they depicted the weather and the location was especially good, excellent. I felt it. I felt that cold, and I never once went, "Oh, well, that's fake." I just was, wow. I loved it. The ending, you may kind of see the ending coming, but not too far away, I don't think. Anyway, I think I'll stop there. And next we'll go with Chad Hunt. Chad, had you seen this before? And what did you think of it?
I've never seen it before. And so upon first glance, it reminded me a lot of Who Goes There or John Carpenter's The Thing. But it for a long time, for a long period of time at the beginning, that's the vibe I got from this movie. I love Robert Culp and I love Eli Wallach. I love both of those guys. Robert Culp's been in a lot of my favorite things, I Spy, Greatest American Hero, and a lot of stuff like that. So I really like him a lot. I'm surprised I've never heard of this, but glad I watched it. I even though I enjoyed it and I enjoyed watching, I had no idea what was going on. And you know, spoilers. The big revelation, I guess, was when he put it together that all these monkeys were named after these leaders, you know, like Genghis Khan and that type of thing. But I still don't know what the tie-in was on that, or why. I'm dumbfounded by it. I really am, because I had no idea what they were researching, what these monkeys were being. The description, I felt like there was something supernatural going on, as far as like a ghost or something like that, because the same thing was happening to them that happened to the two guys that were previously there. So I was kind of lost with it as far as when the end came around, and spoiler again, when the monkey peeked through the window, not only did I feel a shiver in my nethers when that happened because it looked just scary as hell, but I didn't know where the monkey came from or anything. Yeah. So I'm fascinated but dumbfounded by this one, if that's a fair assumption or a fair assessment.
Okay. Appreciate that. And Gregory Crosby, what did you think?
Well, I didn't even know this existed until weeks ago, and I'd never seen it until 2 days ago. I really enjoyed this for 3 reasons. And the first reason is I love that there is so little exposition. There's almost no backstory, not just for why they're conducting these experiments on primates in what appears to be the Arctic wastes. You really don't even know who Eli Wallach and Robert Culp's characters are. There's no sort of backstory about it. There's just nothing. They just drop you into the situation and let you just roll with it, which I love. I think that contributes in horror to, you know, high strangeness when they don't just lay everything out. So you know somewhere somebody's looking at this screenplay and going, but they didn't explain this. Where are the beats for this? Where's the context backstory? You don't need it. All you need to know is the atmosphere and the way that these two characters react to the situation, which is enormously creepy. When they go into that room where the scientist Vogel is frozen to death, right? It's like it's Jack Nicholson in The Shining. It's like completely creepy and weird. And so that really, the lack of exposition really contributes to the feeling that what is going on here? It's it contributes to the paranoia of the characters, contributes to you as the audience just going, okay, something's happening here. So I love that about that. I love that just drop you into it and you just have to roll with it. Second thing I love is Robert Culp and Eli Wallach. I mean, how can you not? And I want to point out that this is a very unusual Robert Culp role. I felt like Robert Culp didn't do this kind of character very often. Somebody who is clearly struggling and depressed and really kind of, this is not the typical either real macho or blustery fake macho of like his character in Greatest American Hero. This is, I really enjoyed seeing Robert Culp do a role that I don't associate, the kind of role I don't associate with him in my mind when I think of Robert Culp movies. I think that's great. And of course, Eli Wallach, please, it's Eli Wallach. From The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and Tuco all the way down to every other role he ever did. I don't think Eli Wallach ever did anything that was less than just great in whatever he was in. So that's the second thing. And the third thing that I really loved about this is the music. Gil Millet's electronic score for this is perfect. Perfect 70s horror movie music. Electronic, creepy, strange, unsettling. Even when it's just the most mundane visuals on screen, that music is making you feel like this is wrong. Something here is very, very wrong. Loved it. Loved it. I'm sure it doesn't exist, but I would buy the soundtrack to this to this film. I'm gonna, as a fan of electronic music, I'm gonna have to now dive into Gil Millet's and just sort of see where he was coming from and what other things he did. It really, really contributes to the feeling of this movie. And the ending is, I think Robert Culp has that. I think that whole point of him saying, "Oh, all these primates are named after famous conquerors, Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar and Genghis Khan." I think that's a throwback to the fact that Vogel in his last tape was trying to say, "I talked to Alexander the Great," right? And they just think, well, he's just losing it, just having a
right.
Otherwise, that makes no sense. That also
explaining that he was talking about the
trying to connect, trying to square a circle that doesn't really need to be squared. But who cares by that point? I love this. I really. It felt even for a 70s TV movie, it didn't feel like the typical 70s TV horror movie. It had more of a touch of a BBC production, honestly, than a typical American. Which I guess the standard for American, for horror TV in the 70s is Dan Curtis. This didn't quite feel like a Dan Curtis production. More like, it had some of the same vibe, but this felt very strange. Dare I say, even a little arty for a TV movie that was broadcast in 1973. So there you go. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, excellent. And Bill Mulligan.
Well, I saw this on TV when it came out, because on those infrequent times when they would have a TV movie that looked like it had any horror or science fiction elements at all, I would be all over that. And it creeped me out. It really did. Now, I did not have my perfectly logical fear of chimpanzees at the time. I think it was subsequent to this that I held a baby chimpanzee in my arms and realized that they are horrifically strong and unnaturally dense in terms of muscle mass. And probably, the second or third smartest animal on Earth. Just a hideous combination of attributes. So watching it now, and I'm looking at the scene where they're examining them, and these poor beasts have obviously been doped up, which is what I would insist on now, knowing what I know now. You kind of wonder, but the ending really spooked me, sent a chill down my spine. And looking at it now, my feeling is that this would have been a great 1 hour episode of The Twilight Zone, which would have meant they would have to cut a bit out, and that would be to its benefit. It's a slow burn.
It's still only like an hour and 13 minutes, though, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But losing 15 minutes would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But you'd lose like 25.
Yeah, I guess. Still, there's a lot of wandering around, but it's all setting the mood. And look, you know, things back then were at a different pace than they are now. I doubt very much that one out of 100 of my students would find this interesting. They would lose interest very quickly. We had a different attitude back then. I think they did something phenomenal with a tiny cast, admittedly a good cast, higher percentage of excellent actors than usual, but still a very small cast, very cramped, claustrophobic setting, which totally worked for it. And boy, they really do sell the idea that this is cold. This is one of those things when you're watching this, you feel like, boy, these actors were not comfortable making this movie. And I'm willing to bet they weren't, or they had the greatest set designer ever, because it looks cold and miserable. And I love camping, but this looks brutal. What they were doing, no idea. Having worked in science research, I can only assume that they were going to get published in the prestigious journal of just dicking around with stuff, because nothing made the least bit of logic. And I can well understand why the monkeys might decide to start doing stuff on their own. But it was creepy. And when I saw this, you know, I was like 13 years old, so I was really heavy into Twilight Zone and all those wonderful horror suspense anthologies. Alfred Hitchcock presents, Boris Karloff presents. You can get these paperbacks and a whole bunch of stories. Going back and looking at them now, I realize some of these stories were written by genuinely great writers. There's a lot of Richard Matheson and Robert Bloch, and they might get a Ray Bradbury in there. You never know. I mean, that was a really good time to be a reader. So yeah, this movie really does sell a genuine sense of unease, and you're not really sure where it's going. And I as a kid, I did not see that ending coming. And it's subtly done. And again, with that creepy, I had forgotten all about how creepy that is. Impressive. So this is a solid thing. I can see why it's stuck in my head for so long. I just wish they had a good copy, and my fear is this might be as good as it gets. Yeah. It's the copies that are out there are so subpar that some people have taken it on themselves to hit it with some AI sharpening. And while it's appreciated, it doesn't completely work. I mean, I guess it's better than just sludge, but I saw one version that looked pretty sharp, but there were scenes where people's beards looked like they were inked by Mike Royko. You know, it was yeah,
I noticed that too. So the one that
I just want to say, you know, if they remade this, if they would explain from the get-go that we're working to increase primate intelligence. Yes. That's what this is all leading to.
We're going to use this for soldiers training.
Which would completely telegraph the ending. And the fact that they don't explain what exactly these experiments they're doing on these primates are about means that you kind of think, is this a ghost story? Is there something something you don't immediately go, oh, it's the primates have learned how to get out of their cages and are turning the tables on these humans.
Right.
So yeah, this would they would never in a million years allow the kind of, if this was like a Hollywood remake, they would never allow it to be like, oh, well, we don't know what they're doing. Yeah.
If you're looking for this, the one I shared, I don't know if that's the one you guys watched, is on YouTube, and it's
several on YouTube. Yeah,
it's 113 or 114 with the added seconds on it. Don't get sucked into the shorter one. It probably looks as good, but it doesn't have that opening scene where you're like flying low across the tundra and you get to that thing and you hear the guy screaming inside the building. That's totally gone. It opens with the helicopter taking off from the so you lose that little bit of explanation. But it seemed to me like it was on Daily Motion and archive.org, but none of them were better than
Jeff, I know this was released in other countries as a movie shown in theaters. Was it longer?
Not that I know of. There's no information that says that, so I don't know.
Because it's fairly short for a feature.
Yeah, well, and an hour 13 means that when this was broadcast, was it in like an hour and a half, 90-minute slot?
It was a 90-minute. It was a 90-minute movie. And speaking of which,
let's see what was competing there.
Quick look here.
Dun, 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 there it is.
Dun, dun.
Yep.
So the lead-in was Temperatures Rising, and it was followed up by Marcus Welby.
The problem with Charlie, unless Charlie is a psychotic primate, I'm not interested. I'm going to be off at that point.
And so but it was up against two other TV movies. One was called Birds of Prey, and the other one was called Baffled.
Leonard Nimoy. Baffled was a unsuccessful pilot.
Yes, exactly. And Birds of Prey was a David Janssen, Ralph Meeker thing where David Janssen was a former fighter pilot, now working as a radio station traffic reporter, who witnessed a bank robbery and chases down the bank robberies and a hostage in his helicopter.
Wow.
So,
Blue Thunder, it's not.
Baffled with Leonard Nimoy and Vera Miles, which, as Bill said, was intended as a pilot, was a U.S. racing champion, is haunted by intense visions of an American woman in some kind of danger in an English mansion. A British ESP and occult expert believes that his visions will really happen and asks him to help her investigate them. So it sounds a little bit like, what was that? What was the show with Arquette, Patricia Arquette?
Oh, Medium.
Yeah,
Medium. Yeah, sounds a little bit.
It was ahead of its time.
Among the more than one pilots that Martin Landau was in. So
well, and that's the other great thing about this is that it was, if you're not a big fan of slow burn, it's only an hour and 13 minutes.
Yeah. Well, got something better to do.
At the moment when you might be like, okay, it's done.
And that's true. That's true. So it doesn't lag. I didn't feel like.
No, but I'm just saying if they're those fans who just are not fans of the slow burn and the atmosphere and the build up, and it's like, it's okay. It's only an hour and 13 minutes. Don't.
Okay, well, we're done with first impressions, so now it is time for taglines with Chad.
How many taglines can a TV movie even have?
One.
Well, I'll tell you.
Well, one.
It's one tagline, and it goes like this: an eerie thriller. You'll wait with icy fascination for the climax.
And that's been taglines with
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
That wasn't that bad.
I felt bad for you, Chad, because that's actually on the cover of the paperback. There was no taglines.
I knew there were no taglines. I looked over there and I said, where the hell did that come from?
You didn't track down a copy of TV Guide for January 1973 and find the ad for
that's Bill's job. He should have.
The only tagline it had was Tuesday at 8:30.
Right.
What, you got something better to do?
An icy terror.
Stay tuned for Canon.
It's Eli
Quinn Martin production.
Tune in.
So this is actually in IMDb. It says this is Australian poster.
Oh,
so lots of places
yeah,
now.
That's a little spoilery, that one.
It is, and not only that, it's like, where's Eli Wallach? I guess.
Also, Robert Culp looks like he's about 20 years older than he actually was.
Right.
And the monkey's face is offset. His eyes are way out of alignment with everything.
Wow.
Sorry, that's just the artist in me.
I gotcha.
That's
I
true.
gotcha.
It's a great title. You know, it is a great title.
It almost looked like they took a dog.
Yeah. They just Cujo. It's a great title. It just reminds me of, I don't know which detective drama it was, but there was always, really bombastic at the beginning of tonight's episode, A Cold Night's Death. Yeah. They would always work something in there. They would take some common phrase and just, tonight's episode, Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Dead Man.
Yeah, that's also a Quinn Martin production.
Those were all the Quinn Martin shows that had that announcements at the beginning like that.
Well, I was looking
special guest star.
Yeah.
Eli, what did you notice that in the credits, Eli Wallach is listed as special guest
Special guest
even
star.
though he's literally the only other main lead actor in that.
I read a really interesting article about that. It's like, what was that all about? Why was Dr. Smith special guest star? He's on every episode, and that was one of those things where you tell your agent, I want this much money,
right,
and your agent gets a fraction of that. But they're like, listen, he's gonna like chew me a new hole if I don't give him something. How about a special credit? Special credit. Like, did you get the money? Nope, I didn't. But you're gonna love this.
That's like associate deputy assistant to. But you got a title. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Maybe he wanted to be top billing. They said, well, we're not doing that, but we'll do this.
We'll make you a special.
And being as this was not shortly after, I guess it was a few years after The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
And I gotta say, Eli Wallach, long career, so many performances, so many great movies, but Tuco from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is always the first thing that pops into my mind.
Oh, great!
Absolute. That's icon. Dare I say, iconic.
All those movies. I mean, my personal favorite is A Few Dollars More, but they're all brilliant and just so watchable. They've held up great.
That's the one with the music box charm.
The little, yeah. Oh, the music is so good in that.
I mean, Eli Wallach is like, and that's probably why he had the special guest star, because he's Eli Wallach. He was in everything from the 50s, onward. He's like, I worked with Marilyn Monroe. Give me special guest star.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But, this is a Spanish poster. Una fría noche de muerte. A cold
night of death. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So that 3 years of Spanish I took actually worked out.
Another title for it was The Chill Factor. I don't know where that was. It doesn't say original or working or anything.
It sounds like a game show.
If you're gonna cut 10 minutes out of this, just cut those scenes of poor Robert Culp shoveling snow.
Oh, I thought that was great.
Through the window. I mean, it's great, but at some point it was like, oh my god, they were really hammering that this is destroying this guy's life, having to do this.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some pictures later of some of the cold stuff, so that stuff really hit me. So
they don't even have a snow blower. You got to shovel the snow in what looks like 130 below zero.
So some of the other titles in French, it was my French is terrible. So terror sur la montagne, terror on the mountain. That's pretty good. Una notte di gelo, a freezing night in Italy. And of course the best, der Eiskalte Tod, the ice cold death in German.
Wow, that's a good title.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of led to that. I found myself as I was searching for information on this movie. At some point, I started typing in A Cold Death's Night, and I was not getting the results I wanted. And Bill rounded up the novelization, and there you can see the tagline there at the top.
That's some nice 70s font right there.
And again, just evidence that there was a time not so long ago when people actually read a lot of books to the point where we need more product. Well, there's a TV movie coming out in a few months. Send it to Barbara Harrison. She'll bang this out in no time.
Before Gregory, before you go looking for this book, I found a review on paperbackwarrior.com.
Yes.
And it says Barbara Harrison is mostly known for historical literary works and contemporary romance novels.
Well, sure. That's how these people made money on the side.
Typically. Get butter. So then it says, again, I haven't seen this film, but based on what I endured for 156 pages, I will never watch it.
Wow.
Perhaps Barbara Harrison was welded to the film's restraints, but reading A Cold Night's Death felt exactly like the novel's title.
Well, to be fair, this would speaking from a literary perspective, this would probably make a much better short story.
I'd go with you on that.
Yeah.
It's a lethargic, dull narrative where two scientists are literally thousands of miles from civilization and have nothing else to do but bicker. with each other.
So
they must have filled in the extra pages.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing with the book.
You probably read novelizations, right? From movies?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Remember Alan Dean Foster's novelization for Alien?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the Thing.
Alan Dean Foster did all the Star. No, who was the one who did all the Star Trek episodes?
James Blish, is that the guy who did?
Yeah, I think so.
Novels?
Well, there's several. As later on, when they started the series and just started doing books. Yeah. Dillard and there's a bunch of
Alan Dean Foster did like the first Star Wars sequel,
Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Yeah, Splinter of the Mind's Eye. I have it somewhere.
Very non-canon,
but good.
Made non-canon by the very next movie.
Right. Well, yes. Yeah.
All right. So we've got. Well, wait. Before we do this, because I did look some stuff up on it. I didn't recognize the people that made this movie, except there was one person I did recognize, and I didn't do graphics for them.
There was one I meant to do for the writer because the writer, I guess, became president of the Writers Association or Screenwriters
Writers
Association.
Guild, yeah,
Writers Guild. But for me, I was shocked to find he wrote 20 Million Miles to Earth, the Ray Harryhausen movie.
Yeah, he was one of the co-authors on that. He was the writer for Trackdown. In 1958-59, 6 episodes of Trackdown, which was a Western starring Robert Culp as a Texas Ranger, which had the approval of the Texas Rangers. And he wrote Emperor of the North.
Oh, it's a Lee Marvin film.
Yes, and Ernest Borgnine. And he wrote Scott Joplin in 1977, which was a biopic starring Billy D. Williams as the title character. So, and he was also Alfred E. Knopf's nephew, the publishing giant.
Oh,
if you worked in a bookstore, you know Alfred Knopf. Hopefully, you know him anyway. But
I didn't look up the director. What does Jerrold
I have? He did a lot of TV movies.
A lot of TV movies.
I don't believe that many. I don't think there were any that really stood out as horror. He did episodes of Night Gallery.
Oh.
Did a lot of stuff. I mean, he worked steady.
I mean, it's well written. I think it's well directed, especially for a TV movie.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of credits, but he did a couple episodes of the X-Files.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go on back through an Alfred Hitchcock Presents from the 80s version of that.
Speaking of the X-Files, we have the classic trope in this movie, long before the X-Files, of the rational scientist who refuses to believe any kind of shenanigans are about. Yeah. And then the very credulous, well, I don't know, something weird is happening. You can't deny that something's going, very funny.
He also directed Kansas City Bomber.
Oh, that's a good one. Raquel Welch.
Yeah, the roller derby, Raquel Welch. His
last credit is the O.J. Simpson story, and I guess he wasn't happy with the experience because it's directed by Alan Smithy.
All right. So that's the two of them, and let's talk about the cast now, because I want to also mention some other people, but we can get to that. So there's Mr. Culp.
Yeah.
So, and that scene where he has to come in through the window, and he his whole body language as he hits the tub and then falls off to the side. Mm-hmm. I think Jeff, you're saying like you really felt the cold. I really felt.
Yeah. And I don't know how many of you guys have been.
Yeah.
Like out in a blizzard in open country. It is devastating.
It gets to your bones.
And when he says you couldn't survive more than so many minutes, he might even be stretching it. Because like when that cold wind hits your face, it hurts. And it hurts a lot. And you feel like I may not be able to take another step. So him doing that was and I thought it was great physical acting during that.
No, that's what I meant. I thought it was really, you could feel it. This is like one of the most interesting things I've seen Culp do, this performance. He really sells his depression, and he really sells his misery.
Even when he's outside shoveling snow in for the water,
yeah,
you can see him, his whole body move like he's out of breath, and
yeah.
Oh, the
cold burns your lungs. It hurts.
Couldn't they have just built some kind of like trap on the roof?
Yes.
The snow and open that up and fill it up and then close it.
They could have also had a snowblower, which was 1970s technology. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
It's very, it's one of those things where it's like, this is only this way to show you just how on the edge and devastated this character is.
Culp didn't do a lot of sci-fi horror, but there's one I forgot. I don't know why I forgot it, but he was in the great Outer Limits episode, Demon with a Glass Hand, written by Harlan Ellison.
Oh, yeah.
Which is one of those things I actually would like to see someone remake. Of course, we can't have Robert Culp anymore, but it's a Harlan Ellison story. It's such a big idea, and they had such a tiny budget. And, the aliens are just basically people with a little bit of black smudge under their eyes. It'd be fun to see.
Top 5 Outer Limits.
Excellent. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he was actually in 3 different episodes of Outer Limits. The other 2 were Architects of Fear.
Oh, that's a classic.
And the second one was Corpus Earthling.
Well, those are all 3 good ones. Yeah.
Yes.
Culp is great. He's really.
Chad mentioned I Spy, which was a groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
It aired in 1965, and it had white and African American leads.
Yep, first time on a major TV show.
Yeah.
My other, then he was in probably a well-known one is Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice was kind of a big deal back in the day. 1969.
It's funny looking back what innocent times they were.
Yeah,
Bob and Carol, Ted and Alice was like, oh my God, this is so adult, and now it's like so mild. And the idea that it's a TV show, one guy is black and the other guy is white, and like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things of his that I really liked was Hickey and Boggs, which was sort of a reprisal of, it's a movie version where Culp and Cosby are detectives, world-weary detectives, and Cosby has the biggest friggin' handgun you could ever find, and then when he can't hit anything, he mumbles to himself about getting a bigger gun, kind of thing. Anyway, it's a pretty good.
But we're all dancing around. We're all dancing around the true greatest Robert Culp role in the history of anything, and that, of course, is on The Greatest American Hero.
And I need to ask, who was the Greatest American Hero fans?
Are you kidding?
Okay, so
he honestly, Culp's character is the reason I kept tuning in to the show, because I found the actual whole idea of of William Catt being unable to like do anything and being a bumbler kind of unappealing as a fan of superhero comics. But Robert Culp's character was like, this guy is great. I could just see a whole show about him.
Give him the suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what I wanted to ask about was, because first I looked at it showed like 81 to 86. And for Culp, it said 44 episodes. So I thought, well, he must not have been in all the episodes if there was like.
Well, it wasn't on that long. I think it was on very briefly, and then they tried to revive it.
There were 3 years, 3 seasons, and then the last episode of the 3rd season was 2 years later.
Yeah.
And it was like a wind up where they try to hand off to somebody else or something.
It was not. It was not on for 5 years. That's
Anyway.
Now, the theme song has lasted forever.
Yeah,
believe it or not. Yeah.
With a little help from Seinfeld, but it's a.
Well, my other favorite. Well, we have to throw this out there for Daphne too. He played 3 different murderers in Columbo.
Boy, you think they would have just put him away?
He was great.
Well, that's how Columbo was able to catch him the second 2 times. He was like, you look familiar.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And my other favorite is a Western. Hanny Calder.
Oh yeah, Hanny Calder's a great movie. Again, Raquel Welch.
I don't know if it's a great movie or not, but it's got the best cast of anyone.
It's a good revenge movie. And
Christopher Lee plays a gunsmith par excellence out in the middle of the desert in Mexico. Robert Culp is the gunslinger that's going to teach her how to shoot.
Yeah.
The bad guys, aren't they? They're like Strother Martin, Ernest Borgnine, and
they're the worst.
Jack Elam, I think.
Yeah,
that's the greatest.
Yeah, it's
no,
I like that. I like that movie.
Robert Culp is great.
So
I just want to say Robert Culp on Columbo really stood out because he's a good-looking guy. He's charismatic. He's just one of those instantly likable people, well cast in those roles. But when he played against type, it was actually really good. He could play a sleazy character real well. He could switch it to unlikable, and that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to mention his makeup here. I know we've got some other pictures, but the makeup artist was Frank Westmore.
Okay.
Any relation to Bud?
Yep, he's part of the family.
The whole family.
I don't know which relation for sure.
He looked cold, and he acted cold. I have a feeling he was cold, but whatever, he sold it.
Yeah, he really did.
And then we have more Robert Culp, but also Eli Wallach.
Great.
Eli Wallach was famous as a method actor, so I'll bet he was like, you can't really act like you're cold unless you go out there and roll around in the snow. And Culp's like, oh, just to shut him up. Yeah, whatever.
Especially with the monkeys. He was really good with the monkeys. Like he had been practicing with them or something.
Yeah. He looked like he was actually a scientist.
Yeah. He seemed very comfortable.
What about their relationship?
They were like a married couple, bickering and divvying up who gets to, so who does the cooking?
There was no sexual innuendo, but they acted like they'd worked together as a pair for years. And
they were clearly scientific partners. And Culp's character, Robert, was just he's
a problem solver.
He was unhappy with the kinds of science that Frank had gotten them, probably grants to do and do things. That's again, it's part of that whole. We're not giving a backstory, but just you don't need it. The reason I just really love this is that, of course, the problem with exposition is that people talk in ways that no one would ever talk in real life. Yeah. Especially characters who know each other well and have a relationship. They don't give the whole spiel. It's just like, yeah, we got a call, and and Culp's like, you answer the phone too much. Included all he has to, you just hear the world we're in, and you just think this guy's been very unhappy with the kind of science that he and his partner have been doing for a while, and it sets up everything in the next few scenes.
And they always tell you, show, don't tell.
Yeah.
And this would be a good example of that. At the same time, it's also true, a significant part of the audience are dumb as a bag of rocks. They're not going to get it unless you spoon feed it to them. I still think that one of the greatest the interview between L.Q. Jones and Harlan Ellison, where Harlan gave his thing about how he was very unhappy with the last line from A Boy and His Dog, and L.Q. was like, we tried it without that, and about a third of the audience is like, what happened to the girls? Like, what do you mean what happened to the girls? Do we have to tell you? And yes, they did.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. It would have been very. It's if you don't see the monkey's face at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and even then, I'll bet
then you're like, wait, what?
I'll bet the phone's lit up. It's like, what the hell was that? What happened?
How did the monkeys get out of their cages? Weren't they in cages? It's just like,
who told the monkey to do that?
Yeah. But I do like to play the relationship, and then when Wallach loses his shit, it's that whole.
Yeah.
Oh, you got it's all it's what does he say? He's like, you had ambition, but now you're just sort of unhappy. Blah, blah. He just really lets him have it, and it's just all that resentment and all the sort of stuff that he sort of kept in. It just sort of comes up out of it. It feels like a real friendship, a partnership, in that way. So
well, he does say I think Culp does a little monologue where it's like, you love this stuff, I hate this.
Yeah,
I hate this isolation. I hate what we're doing out here. It's
he's clearly not happy with this assignment.
And then he says, "Don't worry, I'm professional. I'll do what I'm supposed to do." Okay.
It's all done in the it's their acting. They're selling it,
Yeah.
you know, with just, you know, it's really, which to be honest, you better have actors who can do that when there's only 2 actors
Right.
in the cast. They better be really interesting and really selling those characters, because otherwise you're dead.
I wonder, as an actor, do you feel, you know, these guys had to have felt pretty good about the fact that a TV movie is being made that is 100% on their shoulders. There's no tricks or anything.
Yep.
It's all them. They got to make this work. I don't know if they thought that was a challenge, but it's got to feel pretty good for the ego that whoever made this movie, whoever cast it, had faith in 2 real professionals.
Yeah, you hope that if Culp looked back upon this, he was like, "Oh yeah, that was a great role. That was a good performance."
So Wallach, you guys ever see Baby Doll?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
1956. That was one of his first movies. I think it's.
Yep.
Oh, who was I looking up? Whose first role? Eli Wallach's first role is in an episode of Lights Out in 1951.
Oh wow.
Rappaccini's daughter.
Really?
Yes.
An adaptation of Rappaccini's daughter.
Yeah.
Does he play Rappaccini, or does he play the young lover?
He does not play Rappaccini.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember
Or
his
the
name,
daughter.
Italian name. Yeah.
Yeah, clearly not the daughter. Yeah, I think it's Giovanni. I think it's Giovanni is the callow lover of Rappaccini's daughter.
I think that's it. And then 5 years later, he's in Baby Doll. But The Magnificent Seven was a biggie.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one of his classic roles as the head of the Mexican bandits. That was before you caught a lot of crap for playing. He was Polish Jew. And when you read his credits, he plays a lot of Hispanics.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other one? I think he plays a lot of Italians.
Yep.
Acting.
They got all these Italian actors that they're using to play Indians, but when they need an Italian, it's like, let's go with the Polish Jew.
Yeah. The
Hollywood.
Misfits.
Oh, wow. Well,
Misfits.
Yeah.
How the West Was Won.
Great movie.
Which was an epic flick.
A lot of good westerns, you know. The
Good, the Bad, the Ugly. We said that.
Kenneth Gold.
And then we got our usual reference there, Chad. Did you figure that out? The Batman connection.
Oh,
in this movie?
Oh yeah.
Eli Wallach.
Lest we forget, Eli Wallach was one of the 2 Mr. Freezes.
3.
3.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
There's Otto Preminger, Eli Wallach, and
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No.
No, there was another one.
Are you sure?
Like, yes. Let me think here.
I thought there were only 2 Mr. Freezes.
I always liked Otto Preminger.
Otto Preminger is great. Otto Preminger was a better Mr. Freeze than Eli Wallach, I would venture to say, even though I haven't seen any of those episodes of Batman for 30 years.
Well, you see, I have to look it up now.
I'm sorry. I don't remember the third Mr. Freeze. I hate to be that guy. That guy at the Comic-Con.
George Sanders.
There's only 2.
George Sanders, yes.
George Sanders. How did I forget that? The great George Sanders. All right, I stand corrected.
All right. And I think that's all the notes I had for Eli Wallach. He's such a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
Such a great actor. Oh, Mystic River. He was in that, which is somewhere I read he was in 3 movies that were nominated for Best Picture. Mystic River, How the West Was Won,
and Circle of Iron.
Was that the other one?
No, God, no, it's a terrible movie. I love it though.
And he was in The Sentinel, 1977.
Yep.
Oh,
so
what role was he in The Sentinel?
In the horror cred. Oh, you always ask me that when I'm on the wrong screen.
Yeah, see.
I don't remember, and I just watched that not too long ago.
That's a
I'm willing to bet he's not a Mexican bandit.
Probably not.
He was a detective, Detective Gatz.
Yes, yes, that was it. I was thinking of Gats, but I wasn't sure where that was going to get me.
He makes a good detective or criminal.
So I did make a note about the music. Gil Malay was,
yes.
Before I even looked it up, I was listening to the beginning of it, and I thought this is really good.
So
kind of techno electronic music. And then when you look the guy up, you find out he invented his own electronic instruments.
Yeah. As a lot of those guys did. Harry Parch and a lot of the pioneers of electronic music. They created their own things.
All the way back to Dr. Theremin.
Dr. Theremin.
He did a ton of stuff. I know I had. Oh, here, I got to open it up. For some reason, in the 80s, he got into a true crime thing where he did Fatal Vision.
Oh yeah, the McGinnis.
Yeah, McGinnis. The Deliberate Stranger, which was
was that what's his name?
Famous guy from Oregon. I'm drawing a blank.
It's a great score. I would really love to have a copy of it.
And Case of the Hillside Stranglers in 1989. And then in terms of genre stuff, he did a movie called When Dreams Come True in 1985 that was directed by John Llewellyn Moxey, who also did the first Kolchak movie and City of the Dead / Horror Hotel from 1960. He did the music for The Sentinel.
Wait, did back up slightly. The guy who directed The Night Stalker also directed City of the Dead?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's why The Night Stalker is so good. City of the Dead is great.
He also did the music for Kolchak the Night Stalker. He did the music for like 7 of the episodes, Gil Malay. Killdozer, The Quester Tapes, Frankenstein, The True Story.
Wow.
4 episodes of Night Gallery, The Andromeda Strain, and 4 episodes of Columbo. We're seeing a lot of crisscrosses here. Now, Blood Beach, I don't know. I don't think I've actually seen that from 1980. Is
that John Saxon?
Yes, it is John Saxon.
Isn't Blood Beach? I've never seen Blood Beach, but man, it just gave me a Proustian rush of seeing that VHS box on the shelf in the 80s, Blood Beach, and thinking, there's no way that can be good. We're not renting that. There's no way that can
it's not.
Yeah.
Is it better than Blood Hook?
He was a Renaissance guy. He was also an artist that did the cover of I know I wrote it down here somewhere.
I think
he did the cover art for albums by Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, and Sonny Rollins.
That's fantastic.
And I thought there was something else.
I love the artists who just do they do this one thing and you're like, oh, that's amazing. They're like, oh, I also did all this other great stuff too.
It's weird. This music's weird because it gives more of a sci-fi vibe to it. When I heard it this time, it's like, I'll bet when I was a kid and I heard that, I started thinking maybe it's got aliens.
There's no established melody or repetition. It's this odd connection of sounds that just makes you feel unsettled.
Yeah. The kind of electronic score that goes back to the score for Forbidden Planet.
Yes.
It just sounds alien and strange and like something is not right.
It's no instrument you can put your finger on.
Yeah. It's great stuff. I was really in the opening scenes. I was just like, oh, this is my jam. It sounds great.
I'm going to take just a second. The cinematographer is Leonard J. South. Camera for Torn Curtain and Marnie, but cinematographer for Family Plot and Hang 'em High. The point I'm trying to make is they had good filmmakers involved in this TV movie.
Yeah.
Maybe better than a lot of TV movies that went on to do a lot of neat stuff. All right. He was cinematographer for 9 episodes of Night Gallery. So there's so much crossover there. Frenzy, cinematographer for Frenzy.
Wow.
Oh, if Hitchcock liked you had to be pretty good.
All right. Let's talk about the weather here. So I kind of put this one together just because. So that picture at the bottom is the actual research station. And I'm kind of assuming that the interior shots were sets and the exterior shots were the station. And I don't know. some of the snow blowing in the window and stuff looked artificial, but it was kind of hard to tell because the resolution was so bad.
Yeah.
But when he was outside tromping through the snow, that sure looked real to me.
Yeah,
I mean,
why even have windows? Like, you know, what's it like outside? Oh, you know.
Well, not only that, not only that, the place that so we talked about it, but they have this, I guess it's not that complicated, but they have this great big stainless steel vat that sits inside one of those windows that's covered with a flap of canvas or something.
Yeah,
that's
and
it.
He throws that flap up, and then he shovels snow into that vat through the window, and then water that's already in there has gone through like water heaters, and then they spray it out of like a shower into the vat to melt the snow.
Yeah, again, there could have been something that just built into the roof that you just pull a lever, trap over, bring snow in, close it, and then do the whole process.
This is a lot of work. If you've ever done like primitive camping, you're going to melt snow to drink. You fill it up like this much snow, and it comes down to like a thimble of water.
Yeah.
So he's out there in this god awful blizzard that's like I think it was 20 below. I don't know what the wind chill would have been, like 50, 60 below, and he could barely move. That's what was so good about it. So here's some of the cold shots. But I thought that the actual station does look, that's what I think they actually use that for the exterior. It looks like this.
Again, why is there this research station that's doing work on primates above the Arctic Circle?
Yeah, why does it need to be done in such extreme temperature?
We don't know. If they remade
testing.
If there was a remake, there would be some scene like, oh, we're going to take the monkeys out into the snow, into the cold and stuff, right? Because when they first come in and Vogel is dead, they're like, oh my God, the monkeys the heat's been off for a while. The monkeys are freezing to death. So clearly, freezing monkeys to death is not part, thankfully, of whatever this scientific experimentation and work is. If they remade this, you'd be like, oh yeah, we're going to increase their tolerance to cold. Why? It's a horror movie. Just shut up. Just roll with what we're doing.
So the sign of the research station says it's 14,000 feet, but the place they actually were at was 12,470 feet. So that's no easy place to go film either.
That had to have just been some exterior stuff.
Right.
Yeah. There's no way they were making those guys tromp through waist high snow. Although Robert Culp sure looks,
and that's what you look like.
It's terrifying.
So in Iowa, a lot of times they'll like pick and then plow the field, which is not a good thing to do. But I'm not a farmer, so I'm not going to argue with them. But so you end up with they've chisel plowed the field, so there's big clunks of black dirt bare out there. And then you have a blizzard, and you go outside and you spend a bunch of time shoveling snow, and it's blowing in your face, and you got icicles on your beard and your mustache and stuff. And you go in and your face looks like mud because all this black dirt is in that snow, and it just covers you up. So I don't know. So maybe.
And I have a feeling that they had Culp go through that horrible, getting locked out, and then finally coming in through the flap, with the tub. And looking like that, in order to emphasize the fact that Eli Wallach is now completely terrified. Of Robert. Robert not only it sounds insane, but he looks insane. So that you totally buy that Wallach is going to shoot him.
And there's Vogel.
That's a good makeup job too, right there.
Who they found in a locked room with the window open. And I like the detail on this. They tell him. The guy that they're talking to on the radio says, "Yeah, have the helicopter pilot bring the tape back." Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. It's froze solid; it'll just break. Plus, they wanted to hear it, I think. So,
and then there's nothing on it, which makes me go, "Did the monkeys erase the tape? Why is there? Because we hear Vogel's voice at the beginning saying this stuff into the tape."
But I thought we heard Eli Wallach playing part of it. At one point.
Well, that's again, it's just, it's don't overthink it. Just let it be straight.
Here are the the culprits.
Yep.
There's a room with
that's right. I taped over it. I do it again.
With research monkeys and their name. Let's see. There was Genghis.
Ali,
I guess
for Alexander, right?
Yeah, one was Nappy for Napoleon, I guess, and there was some others. And I don't know if that I don't know what that was supposed to mean, other than what you said, Gregory, that it just cued that that's who he was talking about.
I think that's the implication, because again, there's no we don't under. It's almost, you know, I can see somebody watching this movie and going, well, that doesn't make any sense. If the monkeys, if they're doing experiments on the monkeys to make them super smart, then aha, they turn the tables. But they don't say that they're doing that. So the question then becomes, how did the monkeys learn how to do all this and doing all this? It still feels very, again, it's got some, this movie's got a little bit of high strangeness to it that I think is very effective. And honestly, when you see, when Eli Wallach turns and you see the monkey's face appear in the window of the door, you don't care. It's creepy.
Yeah.
It's really, really creepy and effective. And you don't care exactly, I mean, maybe you care a little bit, but you don't really fully care, like, well, how did the monkeys do this? You know,
well, they do a good job of setting it up too, because so when they first get there, he's inexplicably in this room with the door locked, frozen with the window open. So why would he open the window and sit here in a locked room? That doesn't make any sense. Well, then later on, Robert Culp is investigating some noise or something, and he goes into that room and the window's open. And he goes over to shut the window, and when he turns around, he sees the door shutting. So he runs over and stops it. Plus, he goes through a whole sequence where he's showing how the lock works and how you can lock it from the outside or the inside.
It feels, and the way they set it up so that it feels like Vogel is. You get the sense that Vogel must have been the one who like tore the place up, who went crazy. Right.
The whole place is a shambles.
Whereas, you know, by the end of the movie, you're like, oh well, of course it was the monkeys who did all.
Well, the monkeys are all in cages, right?
Right, but that's right. There's this sense of, except for the chimp that they bring in with them, there's this sense that the monkeys are not
Geronimo.
The monkeys are not in their cages, so they really set it up for you to not have the obvious plot point occur to you until it's, you know, the end of the film, which is pretty effective.
It could be a prequel of Planet of the Apes. You know,
I think it's more of a prequel to Lancelot Link Secret Chimp.
You might be right.
Hey, those monkeys were hella smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
that's what's scary about it.
Well, the other thing, I don't think we connected. Maybe one of you guys said it, but they were the things that were happening to Robert and Frank would happen right after they did the same thing to the monkeys. So if they were doing the heat control thing where they're lowering the temperature 1 degree every 10 minutes, then the next thing you know, the generator's been turned off and the window's open and the water's freezing and or now we're cutting back on their rations and all their food is tore up. And you have to do this. He's got the one chimp doing this endurance thing on the treadmill, and I suppose that's when Culp was outside for so long with the water. I don't know, but yeah,
it's all paralleled, and Culp sort of says that it's like we were instilling fear in them, and they were turning now they're instilling fear in us. They're doing, and again, some part of your brain is going, wait, what? But the other part of your brain is like, okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense. Okay.
I learned it from you. I learned it from watching you.
Yeah.
So we had some quick reviews here. Let's see. Graham Clark from the Spinning Image rated the film 7 out of 10 stars, praising the film's atmosphere, performances, and score. Dave Sindelar from Fantastic Movie Musings and Ramblings praised the film's atmosphere and performances, calling it one very effective TV movie thriller. The Terror Trap awarded the film 3 out of 4 stars, calling it a triumph of mood creation. And the movie was nominated for a 1974 Edgar Award for Best Television Feature or Miniseries. Nomination, but hey, what the heck?
It's an honor to be nominated.
It makes me want to watch a bunch of Dan Curtis movies.
It kind of does.
It really does. It really makes me want to watch a bunch of superior 70s television horror or horror adjacent.
We've still got a few to go through.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I discovered as I was going through this stuff was how many 70s horror movies, TV movies there are that I never heard of. I was clicking through all these movies trying to decide which ones were worth bringing that these guys were involved in, and oh my God, there's just a ton of them.
I think I saw almost all of them.
You guys still have to do Bad Ronald.
Bad Ronald, Satan's School for Girls.
Bad Ronald is burned into my memory.
The Norliss tapes, which we talked about last time.
Yes, Norliss tapes.
Really. Any comments about this?
You know, it's the 70s when you got such a downer ending. Nighty night, folks.
Monkeys still suck.
Yeah.
Great. If you can get past the fact that the quality is not great on the YouTube.
It's better than Abby.
Yeah, and I want to say,
you know, that's true. It is better than the quality of Abby. So it's got that.
And
this is I would
corpses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember the name of it other than corpses.
I know. I forgot. I tried to blot it from my head.
Living corpses, eating corpses. We eat. I don't know.
The corpse eaters, Jeff.
The corpse eaters.
I will never let you forget.
Yeah. That's why you're here. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I really am. So we got some feedback.
Oh, hey, good.
We've been a little short on feedback on.
We have been
the last two DOHs, so this one looks pretty good. Let's start off with. I'll do this with Bill because he may have more knowledge of this. 142 blood-sucking freaks from BC 6352.
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. The blood-sucking freak superstar. Is that Seamus or
Seamus?
Seamus O'Brien was murdered in 1977. He and Ralphus were sensational. Tucci was so shamelessly corrupt, it was astounding. Are you saying I have some information about this murder?
No, I was thinking you would remember all this background stuff, but never.
Columbo walks in. Bill, one more thing.
I'm gonna be like one of those people on Perry Mason. It's like, yes, I did it, and I do it again. No,
I'm not sure what does he mean by what's the Tucci reference. It's been too long since we watched.
It's been a while. Listen, I've been trying to get that movie out of my head too, so I'm glad he liked it. Or she, I don't know. BC 6352. I don't want to assume anything, but
we appreciate it that you're going back and watching episodes.
That's right.
104 years ago. I love it.
Just because I didn't like it doesn't mean you're not allowed to.
Okay. Gregory.
Yes.
Episode 215, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, from
Kelstar16 says, this movie freaked me out as a kid. I must have seen it in the early 80s and the ending is still with me. Absolutely horrifying. Is that also the TV movie, the 70s TV movie with the little creatures?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie, I remember listening to that episode back when you guys did it and thinking, oh God, I saw this as a kid as well. And it absolutely freaked me out. Yeah,
Ken Darby and the Little People.
Little apple-headed things.
Well, and they did a remake too in the last 10 years, 10 or 15 years. But now, if you look at our YouTube, that's got one of the higher number of views.
Interesting.
Of our stuff. And I can never predict it because stuff that I think will be a little, like niche, cult film that a lot of people will watch doesn't get, technically the big name films that we do don't get a lot of views. People apparently already know everything about those.
Right.
They don't.
But something like this, I'll bet, the picture of those little homunculus heads there and everything, a lot of people saw that and said, oh my God.
Yeah.
I was a kid and I remember what was this movie? And
so
another one that's got a bunch, Chad, episode 221, Colossus the Forbin Project, from the Forbin Kid.
Forbin Kid says, I watched this in about 1975. It showed up every couple of years and then disappeared. I traveled an hour and got a very poor copy on VHS tape from a local TV broadcast. I was swayed in my thinking, having lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis. Hearing the president talk about all the problems humans have and how they can no longer afford to make a mistake. Then, the first time some power was taken from him, he reacted poorly because he was no longer in control. Get me, Forbin, was expressed by both President and Colossus, and yet they seemed so different in threat just because of where the demand was coming from.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that.
Thank you, Forbin Kid.
Aptly named Forbin Kid.
Must have been so happy when he saw us do it.
And from our good friend in the Czech Republic, episode 232, Eyes of Laura Mars, Eleanor C. Bill?
Eleanor.
I watched this last weekend. It's an interesting film, and I really enjoyed it. I have to say that if I didn't listen to you guys first, I wouldn't have known the killer until the end. Blu-ray copy is on the way.
Eleanor, a woman after my own heart.
Yep.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, it was surprisingly good. I don't know. I hadn't seen it for a long time and didn't give it the credit, I think. Okay, episode 238. Abby, where are we at? Gregory by
Pope TZM1 has much to say.
The Pope.
There are about 3 trailers of Abby that just got released a month ago. They are very clear. You can see Carol Speed's face so clear in the trailers. Beyond the Door is another Exorcist spinoff, which was a box office hit. It knocked Jaws off the #1 spot. Abby was also double feature with Beyond the Door. Some movie director should do a remake of Abby. Yes,
I agree.
Some movie director. Don't let the gaffer or the best boy do it. Universal Pictures tried to sue William Girdler, accusing a copy of Jaws, which is silly in my opinion. But the good thing, Universal Pictures was unsuccessful and they lost the lawsuit. That's not William Marshall as the King Cartoons. That's another actor. He looks like William Marshall. 2 different actors for Kings of Cartoons. And Jeff adds in this comment, yes, it is William Marshall. The second one is Gilbert Lewis.
I had to look it up because I didn't think we could all be wrong.
These would be annotated comments.
Yeah, I verify. I verify, folks. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Mr.
Was
Pope.
in the sequel of Blackula Scream. Black the Ripper is actually a movie, but the movie might be lost. Probably for the best. Carol Speed was supposed to be in a Quentin Tarantino movie, but she turned it down. Also, Carol Speed did get blacklisted. She came out with a book about Black Hollywood or something, and some stuff she said about some of the black actors. It was controversial. And this is all of the information that TZ has given us.
I'll tell you what. And if you want to go down a black hole, look up her book. It's called Inside Black Hollywood, written as a novel, but thinly describes her experiences working on the Mac.
It's the Mac.
The names are changed, but everyone knows who everyone is, if you know what I mean. And apparently she wasn't very kind about that. And then, of course, one of those years and years later, she changed her tune, apparently. All right. Where are we at? We must be at Chad.
Episode 240, Corpse Eaters. And Eleanor again says, fun episode. I've never seen this movie, and now I never will. So thank you for your sacrifice. May you watch something better next time.
You're welcome.
That's right. Eleanor. That's right, Eleanor.
That's why we're here.
We do this so you don't have to.
Because we care.
And lastly, we have a couple on The Last Dinosaur, which I apologize. I was a little late getting it up. We got a lot of stuff going on. I usually do it in the morning, but I didn't get it till this afternoon. But we still got comments. The Last Dinosaur. First one is from Jerry. It must be Bill's turn. No?
Yep, it is. Just from our friend Jerry, who I think I might be seeing this weekend.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I hope so, at Con Carolinas or next weekend. Of The Last Dinosaur, Jerry says, so dumb, but so much fun. It's amazingly like a lower budget looking version of The Land That Time Forgot, where they try to make a message movie around elderly actors and men in monster suits. My experience was a bit like Chad's, but I was 6 and my dad was a tad more interested in the film than Chad's dad. How much did I like it? I snapped up the DVD as soon as they announced it, lo, those many years ago. Next stop, the Bermuda Depths. I agree. Thanks, Jerry.
So I guess we know what Bill's picking next.
That's possible. Well, I got to see if it's available.
And Gregory, one from Jose Luis Herrera Lapron.
Oh my God. I saw this at a sleepover at a friend's house when it was first broadcast. I was in 2nd grade and remember it being cold because there was a fire going in the family 70s fire pit in the living room. I checked and it was shown in February 1977. It was the best thing ever at the time. Years later, I saw it again and, well, let's just say we see things differently as we age.
It's still the best thing ever.
That's a fun one.
Well,
Still,
you know, the family 70s fire pit in the living room. That's definitely the best thing ever. There's no doubt about that.
and you don't, when you're 7 years old, you just obvious man in suit stuff does not bother you. It is what it is. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks Jose, Jerry, Eleanor, twice, Pope TZM, and the Forbin kid, Killstar. I don't know if we'll get another comment ever from the Forbin kid because there's only one.
Yeah,
the Forbin project.
I mean, the Forbin kid sounds like a computer that's taking up boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Forbin kid.
And Killstar and BC 6352. Thank you all. We love comments. Leave comments on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, or you can send emails to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com, and we will read your comments. We love them. All right. Next episode, every 2 weeks, we do another one of these. So what are we doing in 2 weeks? Well, right now, folks, I got to tell you, Doc is scheduled to return in 2 weeks. And we will be doing, I don't know if I can say this. Yeah.
And there was much rejoicing.
Yeah. Gregory's, I'm getting before Corpse Eaters 2 shows up. We're going to do. Did that come through at all?
Somebody left the air out of Jeff.
The 7 S's from 1973, the Snake movie, directed by Bernard L. Kowalski, and just this great cast. Strother Martin plays a PhD herpetologist.
Oh yeah.
Dirk Benedict, who later becomes what was his name? Starbuck.
Yep.
Heather Menzies Ulrich, who was in The Sound of Music. She was one of the Von Trapp kids. And the one, the only, Reb Brown.
Woohoo!
The original Captain America.
I am pretty sure I saw this at some point in the 70s when I was a kid.
I have not seen this at all since I was a kid.
It's got some great makeup effects, and it's got one of my favorite mad scientist plots ever.
I actually reviewed it on horrornet.com or horrornet.net. I forget what
one of the nets.
Yeah, one of those websites. Anyway, I'm fired up about that. I'm fired up for Doc to come back too. We miss you, Doc.
Yeah.
And I want to thank Gregory for filling in. Great job, Gregory. Yes. It's excellent having you here, and appreciate it does take a lot of time to do these, so appreciate your prep and all that stuff.
Of course.
It's been all right.
How could you not have me fill it, Doc? I mean, really, it's just, I mean, who else would you get? I mean, really, if you think about it.
I was thinking
this has been a pleasure. This has been always a pleasure. Always happy to pinch hit.
It was either you or Thunderhead Jones.
Yeah,
well, that's not getting on here.
Thunderhead Jones be on this a big guest because he's got the most ridiculous accent.
Yeah,
unreal.
He does. He's a ridiculous human being.
Well, I'm sure we'll see Gregory again to fill in here and there where we have.
Yes. I'm sure somebody will keel over for during the classic era or in the 80s. And
don't be talking about.
Again, I'll look up and see the DOH symbol in the clouds.
Reflected on the clouds, yeah.
Reflected on the clouds. Yeah.
I need one of those. It's like a bat signal, but DOH.
Exactly. Just as a DOH,
like,
and I'll just, you know.
I'm ready. Good, because we found corpse eaters too.
Possibly. You know what? I would be willing to bet that Corpse Eaters 2 would be an improvement on Corpse Eaters. It would have to be, right? It would just have to be, because it would have to be years later with people.
Can't be any worse.
Can't be any worse. So,
Can't. You wouldn't think so. So, all right, guys. Thank you all. Thank you, Grue Believers. Thanks to all those that wrote in.
Thanks to Patreons.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks to Patreons. We do have a Patreon group where for a small monthly fee, you support our output, and it helps pay for all the weird fees there are for running a podcast, for servers and storage and iTunes.
You get the episodes early. I listened to Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory just this morning.
Oh, there you go. So
tariffs.
it's usually 12 days to 2 weeks before the episode comes out after we record it. And if you're a Patreon subscriber, you will get it usually in 1 to 2 days after we record it. And you also get access to our complete series on Kolchak, the Night Stalker. All 20 episodes plus a bonus follow-up.
What a
deal. Watch all the episodes that Gil Melez did the music for.
Yeah. Gil Melez. I love when we find good music, guys. So, all right. Say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.